Welcome to MFSN The Hub. I'm Ross the Boss. I'm here with Casey Vlad the Bone Scheinfeld, and we're here to talk waiver wire week 6 with you, Cowboy. It's Casey. I can tell you this week is pivotal. It's important that you listen to us and you pick up the players that are needed, because I think after this week, I think it's all downhill for waiver wire. Casey, what are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if it's all downhill, but it's amazing that we're in week 6 already. And look, if you had a rough start to the season, let's say you're 2-4 or 1-5, it's not hopeless yet. As long as you can start the momentum and get the right players, you're still at a point in the season where you can turn it around. So I think this is one of the more important waiver wires, but who knows what we'll see week to week with injuries and stuff.
No, and let's talk a little storyline until we get to the waiver wire picks. I want to talk to you about the Washington Commanders in the NFC. I mean, the 49ers are fumbling. They're not playing good football in San Francisco at all. And everybody predicted, they're going to just run through everybody, and they're not. And
No, they're 2-3.
And the Commanders, you even said Jaden Daniels, just because where he started his college football career is a great college, and
that makes all the difference.
It makes all the difference. He started there. I know he didn't end there, but he started at Arizona State. He ended at LSU and won the Heisman Trophy. But this guy is showing why he should have been the number one pick this year, and why he should be the talk of the town, not Caleb Williams. What's your impression of Jaden Daniels so far?
Jaden Daniels has been awesome. I think he's been more composed and able to slow the game down more than anybody thought he'd be able to. Let's not sell Caleb Williams short, though. I mean, he had trouble adjusting the first 2 or 3 games, but the last couple games, he's put together great performances. He doesn't have the mobility. He has some mobility, but he doesn't have the mobility that Jaden Daniels has. But I mean, he's proven that he's the real deal too. It makes the New England Patriots and their Drake May pick a little bit more concerning, but they're both, I mean, great young quarterbacks.
Oh, I'm not, I mean, I don't think May's ready for the NFL. I mean, they brought him in a couple times already, the Patriots, during a game, and he did not look comfortable, did not look ready, that he was like an NFL quarterback. That's why I think Jacob Brissett is playing right now for New England. And
he might be taking the Jordan Love approach, obviously.
And
look how well Jordan Love, I mean, he didn't have the greatest week this week, but he's turned into a pretty good quarterback after sitting for the first few years of his NFL career.
No, he's, again, fantasy-wise, if I had him, I would start him every week. I mean, I think it's a must start.
Welcome, Real Tommy V. It's always great to have you. Thanks for joining us. So good afternoon, Mr. Merriquin. You're always here. I appreciate that. It's good to see you again, too.
Casey, big news in NFL football this morning. I woke up to the coach of the Jets is no longer there. And security actually, they actually went with them out the door. They had to exit him out there because I guess him and the owner don't get along.
It didn't go well.
Didn't go well. So he's gone. And the weird thing is he was a defensive coach, and their offense has been flopping. And so they, instead of hiring an offensive person to be the intern coach, they hired the defensive coach to be the coach, until they find the regular coach. I mean, I don't know what they're thinking promoting the defensive coach up.
I think, we talk about sometimes they're just poorly run franchises, right? The Jets happen to be up there, the Cleveland Browns, the Carolina Panthers. These are teams that they might have an aberration year where they perform really well, but year in and year out, you have to question their personnel decisions. Remember, was it Paul Hackett, the offensive coordinator, who bombed so badly in Denver, they decided to bring him to the Jets the next year as their offensive coordinator because he had a relationship with Aaron Rodgers. But you just got to question. Garrett Wilson had a good week last week. Let's hope that trend continues for all those people who spent a late first or early second round pick on him. But the Jets, I mean, Breece Hall has looked like a bust. Braylon has looked actually better than he has so far. So I think Saleh had to go. But they need more than just a new coach. They need an entire culture shift in that organization, I think.
And everybody was, all these Jet fans were telling me, that we're going to the Super Bowl, we're doing this, we're doing that. I said, guys, you'd be lucky if you make the playoff as a wild card. I said, your team always fails. And every year you guys get your hopes up, and every year it fails. And
Albert, just as a correction, Albert pointed out that Drake May is been announced as the starter this week. So I was wrong about them taking the Jordan Love approach. They are throwing them to the wolves. Oh, we already have our first question. Sneaker Beater. Hey guys, welcome to the show, Sneaker Beater. I'm being offered Jordan Addison and J.K. Dobbins for Devonta Smith. Any thoughts?
So Devonta Smith and AJ Brown are both back this week. They have
Right.
the bye week and they're both healthy.
He's definitely the best player in the trade. And I don't like trades where I don't get the best player. That's just my general rule of thumb. Dobbins is a health risk. Addison hasn't produced really yet. And Sam Darnold, I don't know if last week was an aberration or people are starting to figure him out again. In a redraft league, I probably wouldn't do it because as you'll hear from Ross and I think I'd rather have Devonta Smith and a Tyrone Tracy or somebody like that off the waiver wire than J.K. Dobbins. But if you're that desperate at running back and you have a ton of depth at wide receiver, you can survive that. But my initial response is don't give up Devonta Smith. There are some good running backs on the waiver wire.
We'll get into the waiver wire, Casey. That's actually a good transition right now. Let's talk waiver wire, Casey. Let's talk who you're picking up because your picks have just been awesome the past 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Casey, tell me your favorite pickup this week in waiver wire and your favorite one. You'll pick your favorite, and I'll pick my favorite. Then we'll talk about a bunch.
My favorite pickup overall has to be Tank Bigsby.
Tell me why. I watched him play, and he was awesome.
He was like not just awesome. He was just different when he ran. Like his touchdown, it looked like he carried 6 tacklers the last 10 yards to get in the end zone. ETN has been relatively ineffective, and Bigsby actually got more carries than ETN, and so it looks like he might be the running back, and ETN might get the third down back for right now. I think he's got to be your top waiver wire ad, especially with all the disappointments outside of Derrick Henry that you're getting at the running back position. It feels like week in and week out. And that goes back to my Sneaker Beater point. Would you rather have Tank Bigsby and Devonta Smith or Jordan Addison and J.K. Dobbins? I don't think it's close at all. If I had a fab budget, I would literally spend 80% of it to try to bring Tank Bigsby in right now.
I like my Tank was my number one too, if that means anything. But
yeah,
Tank was great. My second one, Casey, I'm going to go to your New York Giants, and I have your Giants in a lot of my pickups this week. I'm not doing it because you're a Giant fan.
No, I agree.
They're playing great football this year in New York, and I mean they're not great football, but they're playing above what I thought.
They're playing fantasy relevant football, which is something they haven't done before.
The rookie Tyrone Tracy, I mean this guy's a beast. I mean he comes out of that hole so fast, and he's so much better than Singletary and anybody else they have on that in New York. I mean, he's the best running back in the state of New York. How about that? He's
better than Breece Hall, you're saying?
Better than Breece Hall. I'd rather have Tyrone Tracy right now.
Well, he certainly performed better, and the Jets are kind of a mess. Yeah, I mean, I love Tyrone Tracy.
You're my resident Giants expert. You watch every play, and you know if he's going to be relevant or if he's going to be benched and everything else. I mean, how do you think this guy would just get more reps every week, or do you think it just depends who's healthy and who's not?
I think he's going to get reps every week. I don't think. I mean, Devin Singletary has proven when he was in Buffalo, and I think was he in Houston last year, that he is not capable of being a the bell cow type of back. And I think that Tyrone Tracy is going to get probably when he's back and fully healthy, Tyrone Tracy will still get 30 to 35% of the backfield work. That would be my bet. As long as he keeps showing that burst. You're right. He was patient behind the line. And as soon as there was a hole, he put his foot in the ground and went downhill. And that's something that is really fun to watch and exciting to watch. And that's what allows Daniel Jones then to have time to involve his wide receivers. Once Malik Neighbors comes back, our cover boy, Wan'Dale Robinson, is not going to be the guy you're going to get who's going to go for 5 receptions, 110 yards and a touchdown. But he's like 6th on the year in targets amongst wide receivers, like only 3 behind the leaders. So if he's getting 10 to 12 targets a week, 8-9 balls for 70 yards or 60 yards, and he sneaks into the end zone, that's a 20-point week. Even without sneaking in the end zone, he's getting you 12 to 15 points every week. So it makes everybody on that team relevant. Heck, even Theo Johnson, the rookie tight end, caught 5 passes this week. So yeah, the Giants are not going to win the East. They're not going to. I doubt they'll make the playoffs. They might though, if they all stay healthy. But from a fantasy perspective, they're relevant low end guys that can be rostered in every league.
And I'm even like in quarterback position. I'm even saying like if you have a bye week and need a quarterback, Daniel Jones is not a bad pickup. I mean,
yeah,
I know you're not high on him, but if you need to start one guy and if the Giants are playing a weak team, I think Daniel Jones, who will score running, who will throw some passes and stuff, and he looked great last week. He really did against Seattle. And I just think Daniel Jones, another quarterback I like is Joe Flacco. I mean, this guy had over 300 yards.
Well, heck,
he was fling it around like
Kirk Cousins is under 60%. And look what he
really
did.
Wow.
All right. King Cards has a question. Do I trade Chubb and Ford for Dell and Romeo Dobbs? I need wide receivers bad. Yeah, I wouldn't even hesitate to make that trade, to be honest. Cleveland is a mess right now. Deshaun Watson, if you've seen that clip of the game, it looks like he's just given up. There was a clip of him just walking off the field when there was still time for another play, and you see Stefanski like looking at him like, what the heck are you doing? And Chubb and Ford are both the same backfield. So when Chubb comes back, Ford's role, you're getting 2 wide receivers for the price of a running back. Dobbs is obviously in the doghouse a little bit right now in Green Bay, suspended this last game, but Tank Dell, especially with Nico Collins, they just announced he's going to be week to week with a hamstring.
I was going to ask you that. So Nico, they announced yesterday, instead of being day to day, is week to week. Tell me, just describe what that means. That means
he's definitely out next week. There's no chance he's coming back.
Not playing next week. So
they'll decide early on the week after whether his hamstring is improved enough to play the week after that. It's not going to be one of these things where as long as he gets a limited practice by Friday, he'll be good for Sunday. It's more.
So is Tank Dell the guy that's going to take his place, or is
Stephon Diggs, obviously. Mac Hollins, not Mac Hollins. I'm sorry, that's Buffalo. It'll be Diggs and Dell. We'll get most of the work, and then you'll see Dalton. You'll see
Schultz.
Who's the tight end?
Schultz.
Get the run there too. So. I would do that trade in a heartbeat. All right, Lobo, trade Jamar Chase for Ken Walker and T. Higgins. No, I'm not giving up Jamar Chase. I know they both had 2 touchdowns this week, and it's sexy to try to get T. Higgins, but Ken Walker.
Let me say something before you go on your rant, Lobo. If you need a running back, I don't know what your running back situation is, but if you need one, I might consider this just because I think Walker and Higgins together will bring in more points than Chase alone. But
that's when I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, where would you rather have Jamar Chase and Tank Bigsby, or Jamar Chase and Tyrone Tracy, or Jamar Chase and Rico Dowdle? Pick any of them. And I'd rather have that running back with Jamar Chase than Ken Walker with T. Higgins. I think they're both great, but I would rather spend my fab budget and keep Jamar Chase because I think he finally got the chemistry back this weekend. Like, I think now the sky's the limit for Jamar Chase the rest of the season.
Had 5 touchdown passes last week and lost the game. And they're trying to point fingers at everybody, but you can't point it at Burrow. You can't say, "Oh, you had a bad game." He didn't have a bad. He had 5 touchdown passes. The defense lost him the game. I mean, when you give up 38 points at home, it's embarrassing. And you can't.
Yeah, and that's who the Giants play this weekend, I think, don't they? And so
I don't like the Giants. I have no idea.
But I think they play Cincinnati this weekend. So
good. We can do a side bet. Good.
So I think that could be a shootout. Let's be honest. You could.
I hope so for fantasy reasons. I have a lot of Bengals, and I'm going to pick up some Giants. I'm going to pick up. Casey, I want to ask you about another Giant, just because we're talking about the Giants so much. What's your opinion on Slayton, the wide receiver for you?
Look, as long as
you're picking up, or you're not picking up, or
if I'm desperate, I mean, it's a bye week, and you got some teams on buys. And if Malik Neighbors is not back, if Malik Neighbors is back, Darius Slayton is.
And he had a concussion, and usually the protocol you miss 1 week. Is that am I nuts? Unless it's a bad concussion, but he should be back, correct?
I would hope, because they didn't say it was a significant concussion. So
no, they were playing it safe with the rookie, who looks really good for the first 4 weeks. I mean, excellent.
So I mean, yeah.
So So Slayton is somebody, if you're desperate, you think I should pick him up.
If Malik Neighbors is nowhere to be found and you're stuck with, let's say you have, I don't know, who's on bye this week? You have
Kansas City's on bye. Let's say
Juju Smith-Schuster or or Worthy, then yeah, I would check that out.
Right.
Who else is on bye? Kansas City, I think
there's a lot of teams. I mean, I have one team in my league that
the Rams are on bye.
I have every player on my bench is on a bye. Every player. That's how
Miami's on a bye.
Yeah, every player on a bye.
Minnesota's on a bye this week, so there's a lot of teams on bye.
There's a lot. I'm telling you, there's a lot.
So yeah, I mean, if Neighbors is out, I would absolutely look at Darius Slayton, but I'd still rather try to get Darnell Mooney. I mean,
Mooney's
been
still under 60%,
48%. You got Jacoby Myers with all of the Devontae Adams stuff. You got Josh Downs in Indianapolis, who's been great.
And again, Joe Flacco, all he does is throw for passing yards. I mean, he did this in Cleveland. I mean, he's just a machine throwing the ball. I mean, sometimes he gets intercepted, but most of the time he completes long passes.
Yeah, and also you can't forget Jalen Tolbert in Dallas, who led the team in targets, receptions, and yards last week. And with Cooks on the IR, he's the number 2. And with CeeDee Lamb, I don't know if I haven't watched the game close enough to know whether he's struggling because he held out in the preseason or they're just doubling him all the time. Tolbert is the kind of.
Tolbert had 7 receptions last week, Casey, and he had a touchdown.
Yeah,
Dallas
he was great.
I mean, he's been playing really good football, and he's on my list to pick up too. You beat me to it, but
yeah, Kirk Cousins is only 51% owned. Justin Fields is 58% owned, and he's going against Las Vegas this weekend.
He'll have 100 yards rushing at least.
So there's a couple quarterbacks. Tight end Isaiah Likely is only 56% owned. That is a sin. Now, here's a question for you. Do you pick up Juju Smith-Schuster? He had 7 receptions for 130 yards last night?
Yeah. I like, Kansas City hasn't lost and they're in a bye week this week. So with Kansas City it's like a guessing game. What receiver is going to be key? I thought it was going to be that guy Watson for them. I thought he was going to
Justin Watson. Yeah.
Justin Watson was going to be their big receiver. And I was totally wrong. And Worthy had a touchdown rushing, and he had a couple receptions.
3 yards rushing and a touchdown, and 3 receptions for almost 30. It's a disappointment. That wasn't what we were expecting from him, obviously.
Schuster was their main guy, over 100 yards. He looked unbelievable. He had a big gain.
Lots of targets. Yep.
He was great. So it scares me with Kansas City. I'm not going to say, oh, my God, you got to pick this guy up. Again, remember, he's a bye week next week or this week coming up. And then it's just a guessing game who Mahomes targets. I mean, I don't know if you watched the game, but Kelsey, like three plays in a row was all passes to Kelsey. I mean, it was like boom, boom, boom. And I'm saying, like, where's Kelsey's touchdown? He didn't get one. But, so he targets people and then he doesn't throw to other people. It's just weird what he does every week. I can't explain, but they're winning. So it must be working. I mean, Kansas City I heard Rice is going to be out for the whole year. So I would pick up Schuster just because of that information I just gave you. Rice is not going to be coming back.
No, he's out all year. So
it's not a bad pickup. We got a question, Case. Why don't you do?
Could you rank these players on how valuable they are from a PPR standpoint? Is TAE? I don't know if that means T Higgins.
I don't know. Okay.
I don't know. Pickens, Jordan Addison, Michael Pittman, and Jameson Williams. Well, I would. Wow, that's tough. I think T Higgins is your number 1, if that's T Higgins. Pittman is much more valuable with Joe Flacco as a quarterback but he's still not.
I would say Pickens, potential wise, if they give him the ball in Pittsburgh, if they throw him the pass, he's the most explosive guy on this list.
Yep, Pickens. I think Pickens and JMO are going to be your 2 highest ceiling guys on that list. I don't like Pittman, and until Addison proves it and Sam Darnold proves it, I don't want anybody outside. Oh, Devontae Adams. TAE is Devontae Adams.
I knew that. So Devontae, When's he being traded? I say
They're
tomorrow.
saying it's getting announced this week.
I say tomorrow. I say it's Wednesday before the big storm in Miami. And anybody watching in Florida, it's not Miami, it's Tampa. Anybody in Florida watching, I pray for you guys.
Yeah, please. I hope you're safe.
You could stay. My friend lives in Pennsylvania. His name's Casey. You can stay.
I'm right here if you need a place, and you can get up here.
He's a mansion with 50 bedrooms. You can stay there.
Here we have a question from F.
Okay.
Is Richardson droppable at this point? Looking at Big Kirko or Flacco on the waivers. Wow.
When's he coming? But first of all, question, Casey.
He's supposedly coming back fairly soon. Let me see what's been written about him today. See if there's anything.
I mean, if you have room on your IL, I would hold on to him. If you don't have room in your IL, I mean, when he's healthy, he's going to be playing. Flacco's not going to be the starting quarterback in the Colts. If Richardson's healthy,
they're saying he's still limited with his oblique.
Yeah, that's painful.
So they're not sure. I mean, if he's hurt, I would try to put him on my IR if I had that spot. I wonder who else you have on your team that you might. I don't know how deep your bench is. If you only have 2 or 3 spots on your bench, that makes this really tough. I do love Kirk Cousins. I mean, he made 4 receivers, 4 pass catchers fantasy relevant last Thursday. You had Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts, and Ray McLeod. I don't think he's going to do that every week, but holy crap, that was crazy.
Kirk Cousins is, he's not consistent, but when he goes off, he really goes off. I mean, hit 500 yards passing, didn't he?
Yeah, it was over 500.
I mean, you can't argue with it. Casey, somebody that's coming off the IR, he has a bye week this week, but he'll be back on the roster starting 2 weeks, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Useless. He wouldn't touch my roster.
I'm just saying that because I think he could share handoffs with Hunt. No, I mean
he could be, but when has he proven effective in his 4 years in the league or whatever it is?
His first 2 games.
He was decent the first 2 games. Okay, we have a question. Yeah. Rushing yard. Do you want David Montgomery or Tony Pollard for a full PPR? Montgomery doesn't catch the passes, but he's a much better running back and he's on a much better offense. Pollard has to split duty with Tyjae Spears. That's a tough one. I wouldn't have them ranked very far apart. It's more a matter of preference. I think Pollard has the higher ceiling in a PPR, but Monty has a better floor. How's that?
Another running back I want to tell everybody about is Ty Chandler of Minnesota. I know they have a bye week this week. Jones is hurt. I don't know to what extent, but Chandler played a lot of the game last week, and he looked good. He caught the ball. He ran the ball. If Jones is missing some time, I would suggest you pick up Chandler tonight. Is that when most of the waiver wires are tonight? I would put an offer into him just because when Jones gets hurt, he doesn't come back unless he's 100%. He doesn't play.
Right now, Minnesota has a bye this week.
Yeah, I know. I said that when I did my rant. I said that you didn't listen.
I don't listen when you talk.
You never listen. Another guy that's going to start getting the ball more. He actually started, Casey. He started the game, but he didn't play the whole game. But he started, I think, because they want him to. They're not happy with Stevenson. Is Antonio Gibson of the New England Patriots?
Although Ramondre had a good game last week.
He did. He had a touchdown and 80-something yards. He did, but Gibson had 50. I think he had 50 yards. He didn't have a bad game, and I'm just saying if you need a running back, they're trying to give him the ball more, and he catches the ball too.
Yeah, and if they're starting Drake May, they're going to be relying a lot more on the run for the next few weeks to get him involved. Here's a couple flyers I love. Demario Douglas is one in New England.
Tell me why you like Douglas. I don't like Douglas. I just want to hear.
I don't like him. No, don't get me wrong. No, I'm not saying I said flyers, right? This guy gets the most targets on New England, and somebody's got to catch balls there. So if he's getting 8 to 10 targets a game, that makes him a project. The other guy, he's on a bye this week.
Yeah.
So he's not going to help you this week. And it's somebody I mentioned early on when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua got hurt, is Jordan Whittington, the rookie on the Rams. He looks like Puka Nacua. He runs like Puka Nacua. He plays the same way he does. He got 10 targets last week. He did a lot with it. I think 7 or 8 receptions.
Yep.
He's big and strong. Definitely somebody I would look at to keep on my roster in the event that Kupp or Nakua don't come back, or there's talk that Kupp could get traded. So if any of that happens, I think Jordan Whittington has proven he's the better of the outside receivers, with Demarcus Robinson as that slot receiver for the Rams.
I love the name Jordan Whittington. He sounds like one of those like rich billionaires he meet. This is Jordan Whittington. He owns Mobil Oil. Jordan Whittington, Casey Scheinfeld. Another guy that for running back, just because he's a short yardage guy and he comes in when they need a touchdown, he'll be the guy in the backfield. It won't be Swift. Is Rashawn Johnson of the Bears.
I like him. Yep. And Rashawn Johnson. Yeah, I agree with you.
Tell me why.
Well, DeAndre Swift was disappointing the first 3 weeks of the season, so bad that all the talk was, is he even rosterable at this point? Now, the last 2 weeks, he's been good. I think that's part of the reason Caleb Williams has been better. But Rashawn Johnson is going to be the between the tackles runner for them, I think. He's going to be the goal line back. DeAndre Swift is more of a occasional carry, but more a pass catching back. And I think you're going to see Rashawn Johnson's value increase. You're going to see his role in that offense increase over the next few weeks.
My only tight end suggestion this week is Conley of the Jets. He's getting a lot more targets. And it seems to me that Aaron Rodgers is looking for him a lot more now. So Conley is my only suggestion for tight end if you need a tight end this week.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Likely's out there still at less than 60%. He caught another 2 touchdowns.
I have him in our league.
He's going to be kind of cold one week and then great the next. Mark Andrews showed signs.
They have the third string tight end that's been catching balls too. In
Charlie Kohler. Did you hear his interview after the game?
Tell me.
He said something to the effect of, when they asked him about the touchdown, well, everybody's keeping their eyes on all those athletes, and we just threw it to the fat white guy, meaning himself. And he caught the touchdown. I thought that was a pretty great response.
I like when people are self-deprecating.
But I love, the Jets. Conklin. I think he's reliable. He's underrated. And you can tell that,
and I like Kraft for Green Bay. He looked really good against the Rams. I watched some of that game. I don't know what his percentage is, but I like Kraft of Green Bay. We got a question, Casey. Why don't you do the honors?
Should I trade Saquon Barkley for CeeDee Lamb and Connor, or trade Aaron Jones for Brian Thomas Jr. and Bigsby? Which is the stronger offer? They're both strong offers. You're buying Lamb low, although Barkley is hardly a low price. And you're getting James Conner, who is the number 1 running back in Arizona in that trade. Aaron Jones for Thomas Jr. and Bigsby it feels sexier to me to say that, because Thomas Jr. is this rookie who's lighting it up, and Bigsby is the talk of the fantasy world this week, and Aaron Jones could be hurt. So who knows? But you're getting 2 guys on the same offense in Thomas Jr. and Bigsby, both with the Jaguars, and the Jaguars prior to last week have not been a high scoring offense. So if I was trading one of them, I would want CeeDee Lamb and James Conner, just because I think you're spreading the wealth a little bit. CeeDee Lamb, as we know, was the number 1 fantasy wide receiver last year. And so when he gets going, he's going to get going. And James Conner is not sexy, but he is super reliable when he's healthy. I would get Trey Benson if I could, to be the kind of handcuff for him. But I love Thomas Jr. I love Tank Bigsby. If this was a dynasty deal, I would take Thomas Jr. and Bigsby without even a second thought. If this is a redraft league, I might go for CeeDee Lamb and Connor. What about you, Ross?
I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a huge second half. I think he can win you the championship if you pick him up now. And having Connor as your number 2 running back will help you tremendously. I'm worried about Barkley just because of the health issue. I don't trust him, just like I didn't trust him.
But I love that Eagles offense.
They're not winning. I mean, I guess
I know, but
they're not winning. And Hurts looks horrible, but
Well,
Besides
he
that,
looked horrible without AJ Brown, and then without AJ Brown and
yeah, they come
Devonta
back
Smith.
this week. They both come back this week.
So
Talking about Philadelphia, let's talk defense, Casey Scheinfeld. They're my if you do defenses like I do, I pick up a defense every week, a different one, except a couple leagues I have Minnesota, so I've been keeping them. But I switch off. So this week I'm taking the Eagles. They're playing the Browns this week, and the week after that they're playing the Giants. So I'm going to try to get the Eagles defense, and that doesn't work out. I want to get the Chargers defense because they play Denver, who has Knicks, and they're going to go after that guy.
Well, and I think you can go with the Houston defense, who's going against Drake May.
That's a great one too. There you go. That's why you're my co-host.
One thing I'd pay attention to, if anybody watched the game last night,
I did.
Final minutes of the game, you saw Derek Carr get hit really hard and come out of the game. They're saying an oblique. If he doesn't play this week, go with the Tampa Bay defense. I can't imagine. I mean, like that New Orleans offense is going to struggle terribly without Derek Carr if he's not in.
Their backup is some Fresno State kid, right? I forgot his name, but
but he was.
You know who the third string quarterback is? Well, I thought that was their second string, but he's the third string. Is Spencer Rattler? Remember him?
Yeah, he's the rookie he went south. He finished at South Carolina.
Yeah, he went to Oklahoma. Good memory, and
then he was to Missouri, I think, for a while, or Ole Miss.
I think he went to South Carolina and he graduated.
I know he went to South Carolina. I thought there was a third one in there. I could be wrong. Okay, we have a question before we go here. Last question. Thanks everybody for tuning in. By the way, this was awesome. Should I trade David Montgomery, Dalton Kincaid for Hurts and McBride? He has Gibbs.
Who's your quarterback?
And Moss, Chase Brown, and Antonio Gibson.
Who's your other quarterback?
So you already have Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Moss, Chase Brown, and Antonio. Yes. I don't care who your other quarterback is. Jalen Hurts and Trey McBride is better than Kincaid, and Montgomery is great, but not so much better than Moss and Chase Brown together, or Antonio. Well, he's better than Antonio Gibson. Don't let me say that. Then I would go to the waiver wire and try to pick up one of the guys, Tyrone Tracy or Tank Bigsby, if I could. But absolutely, Glitz, I would. He has Patrick Mahomes also at quarterback. Yes, because Patrick Mahomes right now, I love him. He's the best quarterback in football, but he's a high QB2, low QB1 anymore. He's not a top 5 quarterback the way he's drafted.
No,
Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. I understand he's been struggling, but Jalen Hurts is going to figure it out and finish in the top 5 or 6 by the end of the year.
Well, Jalen that plays for Washington, I'm sure he has a
Jaden.
I think Jaden has a lot more points than Patrick Mahomes this year.
Everybody does. Yeah, he's got 6 interceptions and 6 touchdowns at this point. Mahomes does. He's on pace for 20 picks this year. Like I'm not saying you can never drop him if you're in a super flex. He's obviously your QB2, but he's on your bench until they figure out how to throw touchdowns.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if you have Daniels and you drafted him, just keep starting him every week. I mean,
yep.
Don't care who they play. Doesn't matter. The kid's on fire. That's all I got to say. Casey, we'll be back on Thursday, correct? At 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. Keep your questions rolling. We'll be back with Dr. Dan Ratner. He's really funny and really insightful when it comes to fantasy football. He'll have some good takes. And thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see everybody on Thursday.
Enjoy week 6, everybody. I hope you win your fantasy.